Alright guys, you know what time it is. With the final shape looming and us finally concluding, or I guess more or less finishing off with the Pantheon, we are finally gonna show off the Destiny 2 fashion video. Last year we were doing Witch Queen into the Lightfall expansion, the cosmetics from, all those seasons in the year prior to that expansion coming out. This year, we're going from Lightfall into the final shape, and we're doing all of, our fashion video for these cosmetics for this past year. Honestly, between this year and last year's worth of expansions and content, we got much better seasonal armor sets from both the raids, the dungeons, the Eververse store, the seasonal activities, the season pass, and Trials of Osiris. We got a lot of really cool looking stuff. Last year we tried to go with more of a, how do you say, kind of like a motif where like every class had its own unique identity, but if I'm being perfectly honest, this year we kind of leaned more towards the medieval sort of looks for our characters for their costumes. Just like last year, we did one, look for a costume set for each of the specific subclasses. We hadn't had a chance to do Prismatic quite yet. Prismatic is going to be, a little bit difficult to try to come up with a cool armor set for. Maybe the Root of Nightmares armor could work primarily for that, since that's already, a combination of both light and dark for the armor sets. We'll see. Maybe the raid will have some cool looking armor as well. That's also a possibility when that raid goes live. For us, however, we have all three of our characters. Each one has a armor set specific to each of their elemental subclasses. And then we have what we would call a base, or I guess a default armor set for our characters. This would be your armor your Hunter, Warlock, or Titan would wear to, day-to-day activities, and then each of the subclass-specific ones would be for, specialized roles. Unlike last year, this year, I might show off a couple of the exotics that will be coming with those, subclass-specific armor sets, just so you have a feel for it. There'll be timestamps in the description down below if you're just very curious to see a very specific armor set for a very specific class. But this year, let's jump into it and let's see if you guys can kind of, appreciate them more like you did last year as well. Also, if you guys enjoyed last year's fashion video and you're going to enjoy this year's fashion video, be sure to leave a like down below. It always helps. And we'll see you guys here in a second. Alright, so this time around we're starting with Strand Titans. And again, we had a lot of good armor sets from both the Ghosts of the Deep raid, then we had the Season of the Wish armor sets that we got from the seasonal activities, was really cool as well. Doing a combination of both just seemed only natural, and honestly, the, Ghosts of the Deep armor set from that raid is very hard to shade properly. Its glows kind of blow out a lot of the colors you put on it for the armor set. So some of the shaders we can find in the game kind of mute out the glows and just make them look like normal armor. Other armor sets, or I guess other, shaders, if it's a solid red shader, you'll put it on and it somehow turns it solid blue for some weird reason. I think they made a, a mention in the TWAB that they're going to be doing their best to kind of simplify and update the shader icon so you have a rough idea as to what's going to be the primary color, the secondary color, and all that good stuff. And I was going for more of like a, hive-themed armor set, and I think it actually worked out pretty well for a Strand Titan. It's a very big departure from last year to this year, and I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty dang good, especially with some of the exotics you can find in this game as well. They looked pretty beast for this armor set, and I think it worked out relatively well. Titans may not be the best playing subclass this season, but they definitely have some of the best looking armor sets in Drip. Next on the list is going to be Arc Titans, and obviously the Arc Thunder set, Thunder's Impact set from the Eververse store makes for a really cool Arc set. The glow doesn't change color from class to class, at least the lightning effects don't, so had to use it for Arc sets. And we're using some of the, I believe that's going to be the Witcher's armor sets for the helmet. Then we have, some of the seasonal Titan marks and the seasonal, I believe that's the chest piece from the Dawning set, and the mark is for sure from the Guardian Games set. We're going for a more electrified warrior type of look for him this time around versus that speed demon look we had from last year. And once again, I am very pleased with this Titan set. It looks very aggressive. You can definitely tell he's all about Arc. The helmet, for sure, with that giant blue crack down the middle, also looks really cool for this Titan. And again, with the exotics that we can pair for Titans, it looks, you know, pretty aggressive. It doesn't look too out of place for this armor set. The armor in question actually kind of matches with what he's wearing, and, you know, again, it looks relatively good. And it took me a nice, long while to find something that I liked, and when we were finally done with it, I thought it looked awesome, and I'm happy we were able to use it. Next, we have our Stasis Titan build, and this build is a lot harder for me to kind of quantify or specify what I was going for. I really liked the Season of the Wish armor set from the Season Pass, with like the dragon-themed armor set, and I was kind of trying to go for like an ice dragon armor theme for him, but some of the shading wasn't working properly, but I really still liked the look. And then when we applied, you know, the Mind's Eye shader, that kind of like makes it a lot duller, kind of blows it out. From certain angles, the armor shines in a way where it kind of looks like it's made from Stasis. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but I was really happy with the look overall. We have the majority of the armor set coming from the Season of the Wish, you know, Season Pass. We have the helmet coming from one of the Dawning sets, and we have the mark coming from, I believe, another one of the Guardian Games armor sets. I'm not a big fan of unshadable parts on this armor set, as well as the mark, but I mean, overall, when you combine it all together, it looks really aggressive for a Stasis Titan. And when he's rocking his, you know, Stasis-specific armor pieces, like the exotics, it looks really cool. And I'm, again, once again, very happy to play as a Stasis Titan while rocking this armor set. Solar Titan this year around has gone for a very, very different look from the previous year, where he looked like a classic Solar Titan. This year around, I've tried to go for more of like a fire demon sort of look for him. He looks very aggressive, very burnt, and he has really sharp edges and angles to him that kind of make him look like he crawled out of the depths of hell, and he just looks like he's covered in solar energy. The majority of the armor set's going to be from Season of the... not the Season of the Reaper, it's Season of the... it's the Callus theme season from last year. I can't remember what it was called exactly. Then some of it also comes from the Root of Nightmares raid, and then the helmet, I believe, is also from the Season of the Witch Season Pass, actually. I really like this look for him. When he has some of the solar subclass specific items equipped, he looks very aggressive and very dangerous. He, again, looks like he crawled straight out of hell, and I'm kind of very impressed with his overall look, and he definitely looks like a cool Solar Titan in my opinion. Last of the subclass-specific armor sets we have for the Titans is going to be the Void Titan. And again, once again, we're going with kind of like a motif from last year of this knight-themed armor set, and this year with like the Witcher-themed weapons and gear, really makes him look like he's from, like, he is a knight in shining armor from medieval times. I really liked, you know, the Warlord's Ruin dungeon, and, you know, equipping him with full-blown, like, dragon-slaying armor was obviously really cool. We have some armor from different raids, you know, one's from Vault of Glass, one's from The Last Wish, some of the armor sets from Eververse, like the helmet and the chest piece, and I think those gauntlets are really old OG armor sets from, like, Season of the Splicer, maybe? I don't remember exactly when they're from. They're definitely a much older set, if I'm being perfectly honest, but, I mean, with this subclass and with this armor and, you know, the exotics that go with this Void Titan set, he really looks out of something like medieval fantasy, radiating, like, cool purple magic or whatever, and I couldn't have been more pleased with this set. We did lose out on the shield that we had from last year, but, I mean, the double swords on his back, especially when Twilight Arsenal is going to be a thing next season, I think it was a easy trade-off. Last, but certainly not least, we have what I would consider to be the Titan base set for our character. If I was, you know, a Titan main and I was going out into the city and rocking, like, my everyday look and armor set, this is definitely what I would be rocking. We have a nice combination of, I think it's, for sure it's going to be, like, Guardian Games themed armor set from this most recent one, with that, you know, Lion's Might, Lion's Gauntlets. We have that Season of the Lost plate we have on the front, and then we have some of the Season of, I think those are Season of the Chosen Greaves. This armor set really makes him look like he's wearing, like, a lion mane, and that helmet we had from the most recent Guardian Games really looks cool. I'm getting, like, a Power Rangers vibe from that helmet, but, you know, with the Titan mark and the Titan shoulders, all with the lion logo on the front of it, it's so good. I'm really liking this armor set. I'm kind of not a big fan of the stuff that's unshadable. I also don't like that when they make armor sets and they have unique shaders or glows on them, you can't get those shaders from anywhere else. So this might be one of the only classes we have where like the default shader that the armor's already wearing works better than any other shader I could apply to it, and it's amazing. Up next is going to be the Warlock class, and we're doing the Solar Warlock first, and obviously we had to go with a Phoenix-themed armor set. Warlock's main thing has always been like the Phoenix, you know, fiery birds, solar class, Phoenix, fire, yeah, it all kind of works out together, don't you think? Most of the armor is going to be from, I believe that's going to be from the Eververse armor sets for the Dawning, and then we have the most recent Galahorn set that we have in the Eververse store as well. We got a Trials of Osiris helmet, we got, you know, Boots of the Taken King for his boots, and then we have like the Guardian Games Warlock bond that kind of looks like it's irradiating solar fire. The bonds I could have gone either way on. There are other bonds that look a little bit better for this, but because Guardian Games, those bonds are not always the same color. They're not gold, or they're bronze, or they're stuck to being silver, and I really like the color scheme we have for the Solar Warlock, so I kind of had to just bite the bullet and pick this bond instead, because again, this looks to be the coolest looking bond for this particular armor set. And yes, there are other bonds that are kind of Phoenix related or whatever, but when it comes to class items, Warlocks don't really have a whole lot of everything. I wish they kind of had 2 bonds instead of 1. Maybe in the future, like Destiny 3, they'll get a second bond on the other arm, because a lot of the armor sets they end up wearing, their other shoulder is pretty bare. Yes, Void Warlocks. I think last year we were kind of going with the Stasis class for Warlocks to be the more corrupted, you know, Guardian look. I think this year we decided to go with the Void Warlock set, and yes, this looks very, very, very cool in my opinion as well. I like the, you know, Taken King armor set from, you know, Ghosts of the Deep dungeon. It's always really hard to find a good scheme for them because those things love to change colors with the shaders, and it's really hard to find shaders that just don't change the colors at all. So again, we have the Hood of the Taken King, we got the Skyburner gloves from Trials of Osiris, we got the most recent Season of the Wish armor set for like this dragon-themed chestplate, and then we have like the Bond, which is, you know, Elect of the Empty Bond. It's, you know, classic Void Bond. It looks like Void energy just swirling around his arm. And like I said before, I kind of wish that Warlock's got 2 class items, 1 on each arm versus just the 1, because it's always, you can pick a bunch of different bonds for this character set to put on his arm to make it look Void themed with just a color scheme, but this one is very specifically the Void armor set bond from the Eververse store, so it kind of makes more sense to have this one instead. I believe last year we did more of a techno-themed armor set for our Warlocks, and no, that was pretty cool looking. I decided to go with more of a Thunder Dragon sort of Warlock set for this Warlock for this season, for our Arc subclass. And I'm not gonna lie, I still really like the Fortnite armor set for the Warlocks. The radiating electric lines from the Warlock robes look really cool. Those boots are from the Dawning events Eververse set, I believe. We got a Trials Bond with, you know, a nice little bright blue Trials eye. We got these gloves from the Ghosts of the Deep armor set for the Taken King armor, and again, with the right shader, they look like they just radiate Warlock energy in terms of arc. And then obviously we got the Trials of Osiris dragon-themed helmet, which is one of the better looking helmets the Warlocks got this season. I'm kind of jealous that they got all this cool dragon-looking stuff for their Warlock sets. And again, Thunder Dragon stuff looks really cool for the Warlocks, and with the right exotics, it also keeps the same motif, and it doesn't really change all that much. Alright, so Stasis Warlocks are the Dark Wizard / Necromancer look for this season. They had some really solid stuff from both the, you know, Grasp of Avarice dungeon. They also have like those Reaper gauntlets from, I think it's season... God, what is it? That's that Callus themed season. I don't remember exactly. The Nemean boots. We have the Veiled Tides bond from the Season of the Wish, and then we have the helmet from the exact same armor set. The helmet and the bonds and that armor set in general just doesn't shade right unless you find the right shader, and this Ego Maligan shader really makes him look like he's Stasis themed. It's, you know, it has those deep blues, it has like the really bright whites for the bone material on the armor sets, and he looks really scary with that like semi-transparent helmet he has. He definitely looks like a Necromancer. And again, with the Stasis-specific subclass items, he's, you know, really cool to look at. Alright, next we have the Strand-specific Warlock set, and I was going for, you know, a wolf-themed look. You know, the Warlord's Ruin dungeon really inspired me to make this kind of armor set, where he has like those boots from the Warlord's Ruin, those lichen gloves from, I think that's what the Season of the Splicer base armor set. We have, you know, a Iron Banner themed Warlock Bond. We have the Hexer robes from the Witcher armor set from Eververse, and then we have a Hood of the Exile from Trials. The overall look I was going for was wolf themed, you know, medieval knight, kind of like a hunter sort of, you know, hunter of monsters look to him, and he looks really aggressive, especially with the Warlord boots. It's fur lined, everything's fur lined. I wanted to use, you know, the chainmail, you know, Iron Banner themed shader, but it didn't look quite right for this armor set, so I kind of went with one of the older Iron Banner shaders, and overall it looks really cool. He looks like he's definitely from the Witcher series for sure. And when you know, slap on those exotics, he looks even cooler. And last but not least, we have what we would consider our base Warlock set. So here we're going with a more cut down sort of, you know, what embodies a Warlock. You know, it's the feathers, it's the Phoenix logos, it's the wings, it's like the very conservative looking armor sets. They do tend to have very extravagant looking gear, but I always like them in a more conservative cut. So we have, you know, the Phoenix style helmet piece from, I think that's from Season of Dawning, or a Dawning armor set for sure. We have the Nemean gloves, they kind of look like talons instead of, you know, lion claws, so those are always really cool. Eagle's robes with the Assassin's Creed crossover set from Eververse. The Skaldic Chant boots, which are like the winged boots from the Gallarhorn set from Eververse as well. And then we have the Phoenix Ascent Bond, and that's from Guardian Games. I think it's the most recent one as well. Not a big fan of the unshadable parts on the Bond, but I think that Bond, specifically with that helmet, makes it look really cool. It looks like it really flows together. We have a lot of the Warlock iconography on the Bond. We have a lot of the Warlock-themed, you know, color scheme with the silver and gold. He really looks like a Warlock's Warlock walking down the street. And again, with some of the specific exotics you can put on him, he looks really cool in my opinion. He looks really cut down, really clean, real slick. I really am impressed with his armor set for this guy. Alright, last but not least, let's talk about Hunters, and since we were already wearing the Hunter armor set for the most part, we're just going to talk right about the Void Hunter armor set. And this year, once again, we're using a lot of the Abyss Walker armor set from, you know, I think that's way back from when the Witch Queen first was announced or first launched. It's hard to beat this armor set because of the giant Void bow on his back, the Void energy rating off of his helmet. We have the OG Solstice grips for that Void-looking color scheme on the hands. We have the Witcher themes chest piece from the Eververse store on his chest piece and his boots, especially the boots too, because you get that really cool crossbow on his side, and it's really hard to beat that with any armor set, but it makes the most sense on the Void just because you're all about shooting arrows, you know, it just makes sense, right? And his is probably the one that I've kept the most consistent between last year's Void Hunter and this year's Void Hunter. Just small tweaks here and there. You can definitely tell he's a Void Hunter by a distance, just from, you know, the Luminous Void, the Luminous Void shader, and from just his overall look, right? Looks pretty clean. It's your typical Void Hunter, nothing special, just, you know, real solid. Alright, next we're working on the Stasis Hunter, and he's probably the one that's had the biggest redesign from last year to this year. In terms of the Hunter armor sets, last year I think we were going for some sort of gothic, Dark Souls, Knight-looking armor set with the big old sickles on his side. This year we're going for something a little bit more clean, a little bit more fur-lined, due to him working with ice primarily. So we got, you know, a nice Viper's Zeal cloak from the most recent Guardian games. We got some of the armor from the Warlord's Ruin in terms of the boots. We got, you know, Dawning-themed chest piece. We got Lichen robes, or Lichen grips, I think those are from Season of the Splicer, and then we have Iron Will mask, and that's obviously from Iron Banner. He still has a sickle with him, he has it on his hip from, I guess that's an ice pick axe or whatever, but you can think of it as Silence and Squall. He has those snowballs on his belt, think of those as like the Duskfield grenades, and again he's fur-lined and he has multiple layers on because he works primarily with ice. It all kind of flows together, we have that like hexagonal pattern all over his body, he's covered in head to toe in plating. There's a little bit of Stasis Blue in there, too, on his chest piece, but, you know, with the Reich-looking exotics for this subclass, he looks really mean, and I really am impressed with his look overall. Alright, so we have Strand Hunters now, and Strand Hunters are probably the ones that got the coolest looking drip, in my opinion, for my Hunter sets, for sure. I was going for, like, a Wood Elf sort of look to him, with, like, the pelts, and the sharp lines and sharp edges from some of the boots. Like last year we were going for more of like a free runner look. This year, again, we have like that wood elf kind of look to him. He has the wood, the wood cloak from Iron Banner. He has the boots from Trials of Osiris that have like the talons on the feet. He has the Roboraptor chassis, and I think that's from like, what is that? Not the Reckoning. It's from what is it called? It's called the Haunting. I don't remember. It's the Halloween event. We have the Sovereign Grips. Those are some really OG armor from the New Monarchy set, and then we have the Roboraptor Fangs again from the Halloween event as well. The New Monarchy set is really cool because it looks like he has like the dart that he throws at people just strapped straight to his forearm, and with the wolf cloak and the Roboraptor Fangs, it kind of looks like a wolf's maw for his face. So it looks really cool in my opinion. And again, he's probably the cleanest looking hunter armor we have for all of our hunter sets altogether. And I think he looks really cool, especially with the helmet and the wolf cloak for sure. Arc Hunters are next, and like last year to this year, we're keeping a very clean, very slick armor set for the Arc Hunters. We have a lot of nice straight edges, not exactly a lot of armor sets radiate arc energy for the Hunters. I mean, there's that arc specific set, but I was never impressed with it. I wanted, to look like a very lean, very fast striking Hunter, and to do that, we have the Guardian Games cloak with the giant snake on the top of it. We have the Virtuous Strides, that's from Season of the Dawn, I believe, the Saint 14 armor set. We have the Phenotype Plasticity vest, and that's from Season of the Undying, I believe, that armor set. Lux sleeves from Eververse, and then the Viper Zeal mask, specific from the most recent Guardian Games. Again, he looks very clean, very slick. He looks like he's a hunter that's all about speed. The helmet and the cloak both look like they are snake-themed, snake-related. Makes sense, because Hunter's whole motif has always been snakes for some reason, I guess. And again, with the very specific arc-themed exotics for the Hunters, they look really mean and they look really cool. Next, we have one of my personal favorite subclasses. It's going to be the Solar Hunter, and unlike last year where we had like the Ghost Rider-themed armor set for this year, I kind of wanted to do more like a fire ghoul or like a fire spirit, something that looks like it haunts like the depths of hell or whatever. So we have, the Cloak of the Taken King with the fire crown and the, specific shader that allows the cloak to actually kind of like animate a little bit more than normal. We have the, so most of this armor is from the same set, and I think that's the Eververse set from Season of the Undying way back in the Shadowkeep days, the Empyrean Cartographer vest and boots. We have Sun's Apex, the solar-specific hunter armor from Eververse as well. And then we have the Prefectus mask, something to give us as much of a black face as humanly possible. In the right lighting, it just looks like we're like a ring wraith from Lord of the Rings, with our face not being seen, but with the really bright hunter cloak all over us. He looks really cool in my opinion, especially in darker environments where like his cloak is the only thing you really see running around. Last but certainly not least, once again, since I am a Hunter main, I decided to give my Hunter base look the best strip I can think of for the Hunter class, and since the most recent season with Season of the Witch is all about hunting dragons and, being a knight and hunting dragons or whatever, dragon eggs specifically, I decided to wear, mostly dragon hunting armor. So we got the Ablaze color scheme going with all of like the moving flames-based armor sets. We have the Vest of the Great Hunt from, the Last Wish raid. We have Warrior's Memorial Strides, and I think those are the Galahorn specific armor set boots from the Eververse store. We have the White Wolf Cloak, which is that Witcher-themed armor set from the Eververse as well, with the double swords in the back. Polar Predator grips, those are specific from the Dawning events, and the Memorial Mask is, the Galahorn-themed armor set. Overall, he looks like a dragon hunter, medieval knight hunting stuff. He has double swords, he has daggers, he has, his cloak is made from what looks like to be dragon skin, dragon scales with that Forbidden Wish shader. That's one of the few shaders that actually really looks cool on this cloak, in my opinion. He looks like he's something straight out of medieval times. And that's exactly the look I wanted for my hunter when we were going into the, the final, the final shape. I wanted somebody who looks like he's down for taking down mythical, gigantic creatures, and obviously, since we have the Godslayer title now, equipped with the right, set of exotic armor, he looks really mean, and he looks really ready to finish the fight. And alright guys, that is the fashion we have for the year of Lightfall going into the final shape. It's not, it's a lot more, all the fashion we have in this video is following a motif, medieval knights and, you know, monster hunters for the most part. Last year we kind of again try to do a little bit of something different for every single armor set, but some of the armor was so good from last year it carried over to this year, and other stuff just totally didn't make the cut. Stuff that even I was surprised to rotate out. But I mean, that's the beauty of Destiny. It's all about the fashion. It's all about changing your character's look day in and day out. You don't, the hunter you start with, you know, 4 years ago isn't the same looking hunter you have now. The armor sets have changed. Some stuff becomes particular favorites for your character, but other stuff just gets rotated out when they make cooler and better looking things. And it's, I mean, I feel kind of, you know, nostalgic for that armor. Especially, you know, as time goes on and we're getting close to what is potentially the end of, you know, the Light and Darkness saga. I really wish they would introduce more options for customization for your character's looks. They finally gave us like a, you know, character creator editor where we can finally edit our Guardian's face, but it would be nice to do a little bit more with the armor sets in general. There are particular pieces that I like about certain pieces of armor, and other things I really don't, and I kind of wish they would allow us to mix and match stuff like that. Obviously, that would be a very hard thing to do, especially in this game engine, but it is what it is. Overall, I'm happy that we got to play Destiny. I'm glad that this is something that people really are passionate about, at least in terms of fashion. I'm glad that you guys liked my fashion video so much from last year. I'm hoping, and you know, you guys appreciate the fashion we put on for you guys this year. And if you guys are watching up until this point, be sure to leave a like down below. Be sure to subscribe, because if you guys like, you know, Destiny content, this is the place for it. Channel's primarily Destiny for at least right now. When this video goes live, we've probably, again, finished Pantheon. Go check that out for sure. That'll probably be on the related videos and near the end screen. And we're probably still playing Gears of War. If you guys are interested in that, go check that out. That's the most recent playthrough for our channel as well. And when we get to the final shape, we'll be sure to be streaming it. I don't know if we're going to stream it, or if we're going to just, you know, record us playing through it and then just post it to YouTube afterwards, but we'll see when it gets a little closer. I'm still experimenting with that in the background. Other than that, guys, we will catch you guys all in the next episode. Take care now.